3 completions on 14 attempts. Let that sink in. Dillon Gabriel, the guy Cleveland spent a third-round pick on, threw the football like he had his eyes closed. And what made it worse, while Gabriel was out there spraying footballs like a busted sprinkler, Shedeur Sanders was cooking again, calm, poised, efficient. The 5th-round pick, the so-called project, the son of Deion, the quarterback nobody wanted to give a real shot until now. Because Friday's practice wasn't just another day at Brown's camp. It was an indictment, a courtroom, and the jury is the tape. Dillon Gabriel looked lost, rattled, and completely out of sync. Meanwhile, Shedeur showed smooth mechanics, laser, precision, 7 completions on 10 passes, a touchdown. And yet somehow, he's still buried on the depth chart behind a guy who couldn't hit a 5-yard slant. This is no longer about development or letting guys grow. This is a case of ego over evidence. The Browns front office spent a higher pick on Gabriel, and now they're desperately trying to justify it, even if it means sidelining the better quarterback. And if you think this is about football, think again. Because if Shedeur Sanders had a different name stitched across the back of his jersey, he wouldn't be waiting for second-team reps. He'd be the face of the franchise right now. But that's just the beginning, because what Gabriel did today was a clinic in exactly why he never should have been drafted over Shedeur in the first place. Let's stow dancing around the numbers and just call it for what it is. Dillon Gabriel was awful. Not mediocre, not developing, awful. He went 3 for 14, no touchdowns and 1 interception, no rhythm, no control, just one disaster throw after another. And this wasn't against the 85 Bears either. This was a padded practice, controlled environment, scripted reps, and Gabriel still couldn't deliver. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders stepped onto the same field with fewer reps, less support, and all the pressure in the world, and lit it up again. 7 completions on 10 passes, 1 touchdown, 0 turnovers. The difference in energy when he took the field was night and day. Teammates rallied around Shedeur. You can see it, you can feel it. That's leadership, that's command, that's QB1. Material, but here's the twisted part. Gabriel got to throw nearly 5 more times than Shedeur. Not because he's earned it, not because he was sharper, but because the Browns are still playing games with draft politics. They handed Gabriel's second-team reps while they buried Shedeur with the 3rd unit. Imagine completing 70% of your passes all week, only to be treated like a clipboard holder, while the guy next to you can't crack 25%. This isn't a quarterback competition. It's a cover-up, and the tape doesn't lie. Because if Friday's practice were a job interview, Shedeur walked in like a Fortune 500 CEO, Gabriel. He couldn't even find the door. Let's be real. We all know if the names were flipped, Gabriel putting up a 71% completion rate with the touchdown, and Sanders going 3 for 14 with an interception, you wouldn't even hear about a competition. The media would have already crowned Gabriel the future of the franchise. But since it's Shedeur Sanders, the 5th rounder with a famous last name, suddenly everything's nuanced. The Browns aren't running a quarterback competition. They're running a draft investment protection program. Gabriel was taken in the 3rd round, Shedeur 2 rounds later, and that's what this is really about. They're not coaching the best player. They're coddling their mistake, because drafting Dillon Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders looks worse every single day, and instead of correcting course, Cleveland is doubling down. Why? Because admitting Shedeur is the better quarterback would mean admitting the front office was wrong, that Deion Sanders' son, The guy the league tried to humble is actually that guy. And you know how the NFL gets when a confident young black quarterback steps into the spotlight with swagger, substance, and social media power. They hate it. You think it's just about throws and reads. Nah, it's cultural. The league still struggles with quarterbacks who don't play by the old script. Shedeur's got his own brand, his own money, and his own mind. That makes him a threat too. The system, while Gabriel is safe, boring, obedient, but the scoreboard doesn't lie, the stat sheet doesn't lie. And on that field, Shedeur's doing everything but screaming, "Put me in." Let's zoom out. If Friday was just one bad day for Deion Gabriel, maybe, just maybe, we could give him the benefit of the doubt. But it wasn't. This wasn't just a fluke. It wasn't rust. This has been the entire camp. And when you stack up the numbers side by side, you start to wonder how anyone could defend what the Browns are doing. Shedeur Sanders has 50 completions. On 70 attempts, that's 71.4%. He has 6 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. Poised, accurate, efficient. Deion Gabriel has 51 completions on 87 attempts. That's 58.6%. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. More chances, less production, and let's not ignore the context. Gabriel has thrown 17 more passes than Shedeur. 17 and still has just 1 more completion to show for it. That's not development, that's desperation. The Browns are force-feeding Gabriel into the offense, like a square peg in a round hole, hoping the numbers magically balance out. But it's not working. He's cracking. Meanwhile, Shedeur is putting up one of the quietest rookie quarterback clinics we've seen in years. No flash, no excuses, just showing up and dominating practice after practice, rep after rep. And yet, he's the one stuck running drills with the third-string receivers and undrafted linemen. If this were any other industry, Gabriel would be benched and Shedeur would be promoted, period. But this is the NFL, where saving face comes before playing smart. The Browns see what we all see. They're just pretending they don't. And in doing so, they're playing with fire. Let's not sugarcoat it. Deion Gabriel was a reach, a panic pick in the 3rd round. Maybe he pans out, a selection that made little sense the moment the ink dried, and now the Browns are trying to save face by pretending he's outperforming a guy who's making him look like a backup in every statistical category that matters. That's not development. That's delusion. See. In the NFL, draft status isn't just a number, it's a badge of pride. Teams will go to absurd lengths to prove they were right, even if that means trotting out a quarterback who just went 3 for 14 in front of reporters, coaches, and teammates who are all side-eyeing each other like, this dude. Because if the Browns admit Shedeur Sanders, the 5th rounder, the social media star, the son of Deion, is the better quarterback, then they're also admitting they made a mistake. And let's be honest, NFL front offices don't like being told they were wrong, especially when that correction comes from a confident, outspoken black family they've been trying to humble since draft night. But here's the thing, you can't lie to the locker room. Players see the tape. They know who's got it and who doesn't. Single quotes, and while Gabriel's lobbing hospital balls in his own coverage, Shedeur's hitting timing routes in stride, leading receivers into open space, and looking like a guy ready to start right now. The longer Cleveland keeps this charade going, the worse it gets. They're not protecting a prospect, they're protecting their pride. And they're doing it at the cost of their future. Let's talk about the elephant in the quarterback room, or, better yet, the last name on the jersey, Shedeur Sanders isn't just battling Deion Gabriel. He's battling a narrative. He's battling whispers in front offices, bias in media rooms, and resentment from coaches who can't stand the fact that he didn't come into the league hat in hand begging for a shot. Shedeur came polished, prepared, and unapologetically Deion's son. And for some people in the NFL, that's enough to hold it against him. Because make no mistake, this league has a Deion problem. They love what he did as a player, but can't stand how much power he wields now. They hate that he's building a brand without them. They hate that he speaks his mind, moves independently, and refuses to play by their unwritten rules. And now his son is carrying that same torch, articulate, educated, marketable, and confident in the NFL. That's often seen as arrogance when it comes to black skin. So what happens? Shedeur gets the cold shoulder. He's punished for being raised right. Drafted late, not because of talent, we all saw the film, but because the NFL wanted to send a message, and now that message is spilling all over in the camp. He's clearly the better quarterback, yet still playing third string while struggling. Gabriel gets promoted for throwing less than 25%. If Shedeur's last name was Jones or McCarthy, he'd be the face of the franchise. But because it's Sanders, the bar keeps moving. The excuses keep changing. And the reps keep going to the guy who's done nothing to deserve them at this point. The only people still pretending Deion Gabriel deserves more reps than Shedeur Sanders are wearing Browns polos and trying to keep their jobs. Everyone else, they've seen enough. Browns fans aren't stupid. They're emotional, loyal, and often too forgiving. But they know football. And now they're calling this situation for what it is, an insult to their intelligence. You can scroll through any Reddit, threads and Browns fan forums, and it's a tidal wave of disbelief. Why is Gabriel still running with the twos? How do you throw 3 for 14 and get rewarded? How is Shedeur not the one being